Teachers of Reddit, where is your most successful student now? When I taught high school, I had a particularly bright student. He came back to me a year later and told me he dropped out of college and didn't intend to return. He mentioned that maybe he just wasn't the college type, which was particularly disappointing because he was the kind of person who really could do anything he wanted if he tried. Told him about my own college experience. I flunked out freshman year and it took me 6 years to get through undergrad. Then I requested that he think long and hard about if he's not the college type or if he's just maybe not ready yet. I then got him a job as a cargo handler at the airport. I put myself through college working there. A few years later, when I was talking to a friend who still works in cargo, I found out the kid eventually went back to school, then started a freight forwarding business which was crazy successful and got bought out by expediters. He used the buyout money to take 2 years off from work and go get his MBA. I've never heard since, but for some reason that one always stuck with me and his story is one of my favorite memories from my time teaching high school. Threads like these always make me wonder what happened to Kevin, if by some miracle he hasn't accidentally gotten himself killed yet. Alas, poor Kevin. I hope he figured out that dogs and cats are different. One of my former biology students is the second fastest 800 meters runner nationally at the high school level. I taught him not a dang thing about running. I'm not a teacher, but my parents were. My dad taught 5th grade his entire career. He always had great stories. There was this one kid who was just a flat out turd. Dad was sure this kid was going to end up in prison or something. Well, 7 years later, Dad gets called to the office for something. There's the kid, all grown up. He had joined Young Marines kinda like JRTOC. He held out his hand to shake Dad's and said, "Mr. Not quite domestics dad, I'm Turd Kid. I just wanted to say thank you for being my teacher. I was starting to go down a really bad path, and you didn't give up on me. I joined Young Marines, got my head on straight, and I'm going to college. I just wanted to say thank you." My dad tears up every time he tells that story. Sniff sweet Turd Kid. My dad teaches in a poor county, lots of Hispanic and African American kids. I think his most successful kid was this poor Hispanic girl. Mom worked at McDonald's, had no chances of getting into college because her mom could barely make ends meet. She cried to my dad about it, and although she was only an 8th grader, she knew her chances were slim. She was really smart and fluent in Spanish and English and overall just very well rounded, so he told her to buck up and take challenging classes and use her intelligence to her advantage. She took it. He gets updates from her every year. She just started medical school, all of which is being funded by a very generous man who saw her potential and gave her an opportunity she wasn't born with. From rags to medical textbooks, I guess. Buying textbooks takes you to rags again. No idea. However, one of the so-so students has shocked the heck out of me by being charged with kidnapping 2 little Amish girls. Lots of people talk about their big goals when they separate from the service, but he was one of the few that actually did what he said he was going to do. And for that, I think he's successful. I want to get out when my contract is up, but I'm so scared of failing as a civilian that it might keep me in. Lulling into a career is the perfect way to put it. Greek letter iota used to teach sewing. In one of my beginner classes, this girl came in with no experience of sewing or crafting but picked it up extremely fast. After I showed the class how to insert a zipper, she came back the next week with a completed, to perfection, A-line skirt. A skirt was supposed to be the final project and that was still another 4 weeks off. For the final she made this gorgeous silk charmeuse plaid skirt with matching stripes that was high-waisted and fully lined for her vow renewal. Oh, impressive crap, man. I'd like to take a sewing class. One of my middle school teachers taught Jennifer Love Hewitt in middle school, and she always told us about how she always signed her name Jennifer 3 Hewitt. She only did that to not be confused with Jennifer greater than 3 Hewitt. My father has a history PhD. His 3rd grade teacher pulled him aside after attending the convocation and told him she needed to be there to see it in person, as otherwise she wouldn't have believed that he of all people had earned a doctorate. Before you read all this, I don't know where he is now and this is only loosely related to this question, But my first teaching job was at a school for students that had been kicked out of every school they had been to. This was their last chance, but that didn't make a difference to their attitude. Chairs were thrown, weapons were brought to school, and the teachers were constantly insulted and disrespected. I managed to develop a good relationship with most of them. Actually, I found the naughty kids quite funny, but the lazy ones I hated. But one of them really stood out. He had potential if he only got his crap together. After a while I realized this kid couldn't read or write, like past a 6-year-old standard. After a while trying to get one of these kids to put pen to paper was almost impossible. So he felt useless in class, and I assume that's why he always acted up. As a way to divert attention from this problem, I took him aside and said I will help him if he lets me. He burst into tears saying he wanted to make something of himself. From that moment, the kid that was impossible to deal with, who was just a general crap storm in class, gave up every lunch and break time he had so we could do reading and writing exercises. After the summer break I came back to the school and asked where is X, and I was told he got into college UK A levels. And that's the last I heard of him. Where is he now? I have no idea, but I hope he kept up that motivation and is somewhere good now. It pisses me off how so many schools and teachers wrote off this kid without even considering trying to work out how this guy's needed help. I really liked this story. Thanks for sharing. Kid had one parent who had lupus, was rarely in clean clothes. I bought him breakfast at times or he wouldn't have eaten. He was frequently threatened with expulsion. He finished high school and is now in permanent full-time employment. One of my high school students whose college recommendations I wrote was admitted to the University of Pennsylvania. All she's done there so far is attend freshman orientation for this fall. But hey, I helped a kid get into the Ivy League. I'm 23, so this still seems cool to me. Holy crap, I'm 23 too and still feel like a high school student. You're 23 and teaching high school students. This only my 5th year teaching, but one student was able to use the skills I taught her in band to get into an art school to dance. She really wants to be a dancer, but she plays flute much better. Bonus: her family drops my name for anyone wanting music lessons. Not me, but my dad was a middle school choir teacher for some 30 odd years. He always loved blasting the current pop music so you could hear it clear down the hall, especially the Backstreet Boys, and forcing students to sing along into a microphone so they could hear their own voices and get over the embarrassment of singing in front of each other. Well, one of these students is now the bass singer in a fairly successful a cappella group that tours mostly around the Midwest and East Coast US. To top it off, the former student also openly credits my dad with his success and says he never would have even tried or thought he had a good voice if my dad had not forced him to sing into that microphone in his school years. One of my French teacher's old students became a Victoria's Secrets model, and then later married Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Not me, but my mum taught Leighton Hewitt, so there's something. It's spelled Leighton Hewitt. I know this because I was named after him. I don't like salt, but I get the tennis crap all the time. Most of my former students have gone on to the type of jobs you'd expect from a wide range of people. But one of my former students was dating a guy who went on to be in the NFL, Alfonso Denard, cornerback for the New England Patriots. He was a nice kid, shy for a rippling mass of muscles. I am a Latin and ancient Greek teacher, and I'm so proud that one of my students is about to start a PhD in a subject I taught her. I've only been teaching 7 years and it is a real thrill. May not be what you were looking for in this thread, but I count that as success. This is great for all the new Latin translations we'll need to get through. You know how some people get the everything package? I taught one of those guys in year 12, straight as in every subject. Won the state competition for ancient languages when he wrote a play in freaking Latin, was great at sports, tall, good looking, had a full beard at 18, I can't grow at 28, and was well liked by everyone. And from the stories I heard, he was quite a good drinker as well. Don't worry, I teach in Bavaria, so no illegal stuff going on. Last time I talked to him he didn't know what he wanted to do, but he said he considered medicine or something technical. Whatever he does, I am sure he will succeed. Everyone has all of these cool stories of how their students are like super celebrities of the world. Haha, I have only been teaching for like 3 years, but I think my most successful student is now a photographer at National Geographic. Someone 1 year my junior is doing bigger things than I will ever do. You're a teacher. That's a pretty big thing. You get to influence the lives of these people. Don't talk down about yourself. I taught this really ugly kid. I'm talking huge, weird skin color and stank, very antisocial. He was bullied sometimes. However, he was big enough to fight back, so generally spent time by himself. He's done pretty well for himself now. I heard he owns his own waterfront property, has a best friend and wife. I was in his area the other month and thought it would be nice to drop in and see him. All the way up to his property there were warning signs about not entering, which was a bit odd. The whole time I was thinking there's no way he's met someone that could love him. No way at all. When I got to the door, his wife answered. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer of being able to find someone who's your perfect match. Before I could introduce myself, his Scottish accent screams from the back on the room, "WHO the heck are you?" and he charges to the door. He looked at me and whispered, "This is my swamp." I looked in his eyes. Instantly I knew he was in love. He was love. He was my most successful student. My life's work. He was love. He was life. Dang it. I used to teach in Africa. We were in a mostly Christian area, but one Muslim boy from Kenya really made the effort to learn to read and write. Despite the lack of electricity in local homes and hardships faced by the youth there, he was driven to succeed and rose above the rest of my students. I hear that he's currently the President of the United States. No idea why I'm reading this to see if I pop up. What teacher is going to say I had a great student who is currently unemployed and stays okay read it till 3:30 every day? As a teacher, I don't keep tabs on where my students are anymore or what has become of them. In my mind, I consider that they've all been successful because I've seen none of them on the local news or in a headshot. I'm still a PhD student myself, meaning my students I've TA'd over the years are just a few years younger. Either I taught them when they were undergrads or in a gifted high school student program. But it's still cool to hear what all they're up to. At our big National Astronomy Convention, the ones who have stuck with astronomy and are now also in grad school will spot my name and come say hello when they see I'm doing a talk poster, which is neat to hear what folks are up to. So far I guess the student now at Yale is the most impressive on paper, but there was a girl who's looking for extrasolar planets who was great fun to catch up with too. Astronomers tend to be really passionate about what they do, but she was so above and beyond excited about her work that it makes me smile just thinking about it. I asked this question to a teacher I had in Japan. He told me all about this boy who was an absolute genius and excelled at everything he put his mind to. That man, Shoko Asahara, leader of the Aum Shinrikyo cult that did the sarin nerve gas attacks in Tokyo in the 90s. I like to think I'm pretty successful, but none of my teachers will ever know that. There has been absolutely zero contact between me or anyone that is up to date with my life and anyone associated with the schools I went to, and it's been that way since around the time I graduated with my bachelor's. I guess I'm the weird one, but it seems strange that people would stay in contact or up to date like that, even if they didn't move across an ocean like I did. I had a guidance counselor back in elementary who taught Maya Angelou. The lady was really nice and supportive, but would not shut the frick up about her. I hope they're both at peace now. Bless them both. LOL. I was a 3.8 GPA student in college. Graduated with honors, with a degree and 2 certificates. Even did a year internship abroad. If my professors knew I am making less than 20k at the family business, which I don't even need a degree for, I think they'd be as ashamed as I am. I had a real butthole for a student counselor. He was only a few years older than me. I was a D student, more worried about making people laugh and finding out where the weekend kegger was at. On numerous occasions he told me I should just drop out and stop wasting my time. So my senior year I listened to him and dropped out and went to work as a plumber. I was forced by my boss at the plumbing company to get my get or look for a new job. So I did. And in order to advance in the company I had to get my plumbing license. So I did. That was 7 years ago. I now work for myself and make a more than comfortable living. I recently bought a second van and have 2 crew of workers that need some labor on occasion. 2 months ago I put an ad on Craigslist looking for some extra workers at $10 an hour. I told the first caller where to be and who to talk to. After a week or so I asked the crew leader how the new laborer was working out. He said he works hard but shows up every morning smelling like booze. Just then a familiar face walks around the building and guess who it was? Yep, the butthole counselor. I had been writing him checks for 3 weeks and never even thought it was the same guy. He works for me as my gopher now. I have to buy him lunch cause he gets paid on Friday and shows up Monday broke from drinking all weekend. Every time I deposit a draw from a big job I always make sure he knows how much it was for and how much is going straight into my pocket. And thank him for convincing me to drop out of high school. I am currently enrolled at the University of Cincinnati getting my degree in business management. Better late than never. I was one of the best students in a lot of my high school classes. I'm a 23-year-old unemployed virgin living with my parents. Just goes to show doing well in school isn't everything. Most successful student is currently unemployed. His knowledge of the system and how crap works is so profound that he quit his well-paying job to contemplate philosophy and life. Pretty sure he's now the apprentice to the hermit who sits on top of the mountain to answer people's questions about happiness or meaning to life. A bit late to the party. Not even a teacher but my father is. The student he's most proud of is now head of the niche-edgy part of a big hospital. This man was the head operator of a 10-hour surgery to save my leg after a pretty bad accident. I love that guy and so does my father. Not me, but my grandfather taught Wayne Gretzky in grade 5, and even has a poster from Wayne in his basement that Wayne gave him back in the mid-80s thanking him for being a wonderful teacher to him. Wayne's career turned out to be pretty good. My students who did the best and stay in contact include community activists, successful business owners, corporate movers, and creative talents plying their trade skills all over the interwebs. Other equally successful stories they tell including having children as single parents, GLBT parents, and loving cis parents. A few have gone into politics as elected officials. Some are coming to terms with re-entry stuff after serving lengthy tours over the past 10 years. Mostly, I see a common thread of grace, humility, courage, and genuine concern for others in the face of often negative energy pushing back. The former students are, taken as a group, a truly amazing slice of their generation. I had this one student a long time ago who was raised by his aunt and uncle. I taught his father some years earlier. After I was killed during a rescue mission, I sent him to train with my own teacher who lived in a faraway swamp. He returned from the swamp with a newfound abilities which he used to take down the Galactic Empire. Knowing that I played a part in helping this plucky young kid save the galaxy makes me happy in my death. I was so confused for a second, but now, I see what you did there. Sorry I'm still a student, but I took an SSAT class once and the teacher for that was a 3rd grade teacher for Lady Gaga. She showed us her class picture. She also taught her sister who got married and the teacher was invited to the wedding. Lady Gaga was attending the wedding in some sort of bee costume. Well, my drama teachers had Amy Adams as a student. Not me, but not sure how much more successful a drama teacher can get. She graduated 2 years before I got to high school, but my older brother had been in a play with her. As a flight instructor involved in screening potential military aviators, I have former students who now fly fighters. Hellas, larger stuff if that counts. Not sure if this counts, but my mother used to be a teacher, and over the Christmas breaks while I was back from university, I'd help Mark review the coursework drafts her students had submitted. Sophie Turner, Sansa, from Game of Thrones, was one such student. Other than her, the other two with at least a tangential connection to fame were a guy who went on to be part of a boy band that got knocked out pretty early on in the X Factor, and the daughter of an actor on one of the big soaps. Can't remember if it was EastEnders or Coronation Street. There was an English teacher at my school who left the year I'd started who'd been there so long he'd taught the Olympic gold medal winner Sean Curley. I asked my high school chemistry professor if she taught anybody who'd gone into chemistry. She said that she taught someone who wound up working as a professional chemist for a pharmaceutical conglomerate. Math and Sciences High School. I had her in first grade. I know I can't take too much credit, but I did help her with some homework assignments via Facebook up until grade 7. Teaching in a declining Western Mass city where between 40–50% of students qualify for free or reduced lunch. One student is in her senior year at Harvard. Other student just started at Brown this year. Neither of them are from families that receive assistance and both are from families where one parent is a teacher. I take no credit for either success. They were both pretty amazing when they showed up in my class. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.